Hello. When Rosh Chodesh comes, the Shulchan Aruch writes that Rosh Chodesh mutar b'asiyat melacha. One is allowed to do work on Rosh Chodesh. A minhag, there is that ladies don't do work, and therefore he writes, Anashim shenagu shelo la'asot melacha minhag tovu, which means ladies that don't do work, it is a good custom. Now, what does that mean? The Mishnah Berurah in Biur Halacha wants to know, minhag means that they are obligated to do so in such a place since their mothers used to refrain for a certain amount of work or certain type of work, they have to follow that minhag, or it's a good thing to do so, but they're not really obligated. He brings from here and there, then he says a concept, and he says like this: a woman has to know the Rosh Chodesh was given for women because they didn't help out when Am Yisrael were doing the golden calf and everybody gave their jewelry. Women refrained, they didn't help make the golden calf, the Egel Hazav. Therefore, because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu rewarded them with a holiday of Rosh Chodesh. How do you designate a holiday? By not doing work. Therefore, they have to do some kind of something different in that day to show and demonstrate that it is a holiday. And therefore, if they refrain from one thing, that's sufficient. Unless they have a minhag, they have a custom from their mother not to refrain from more things. Therefore, the obligation is minimal to some of the things, not everything. Accordingly, one should refrain from types of work that are not allowed to do on Chol HaMoed as well. It's not like a woman is not allowed to work like she does on Shabbat or on Yom Tov, but rather refrain from few things. For example, the Mefarshim bring down that spinning thread for sewing, that is something that a woman should refrain. But what about doing laundry? That is already a big machloket in the poskim. It's a bigger machloket between Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. Sfaradim already were mekel in those things. Or Letzion and Chacham Ovadia say that if a woman wants to do laundry, she's permitted because, first of all, it used to be much harder to make laundry because people used to wash their clothing by hand. And today, everything is put in the machine. It's much easier. But those that want to be more machmir, more strict, they just put the laundry inside the machine and ask their husband to turn it on, or one of the kids. That already not an act of washing. Putting it afterwards in the dryer, that's definitely permitted according to this idea. Also, those that used to hang the clothing, some refrain from that. Or Litzon was more machmir on that, but generally such a thing would also be permitted. What about other things, like for instance cooking and baking? That's definitely permitted, because anything that has to do with food, preparing food, definitely is permitted. Now, there are poskim that were more machmir on different things on Rosh Chodesh, but this is a general idea that a woman needs to know. If she refrains from one thing, as the Biur Halacha says, that is sufficient. She doesn't have to take more than that upon herself.